Welcome to the Football Retro Podcast.
The word welcome, I guess, is stretching it a little when you're an Australian in a place like this today.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Football Retro Podcast. I'm your host Johnny, and today I'm joined by Fadi, Adasi and Akram. How you doing, guys?
Fantastic, Johnny. Love being on the show. It's been a while, but great to be back.
It's been a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, man. Like this is exciting. You know, it's been a couple of weeks. Special times.
Eventful couple of weeks. I think
I think that's the best way to explain it.
Few things
Wait,
they need to be brought up.
The first week we missed out is because Akram almost died.
Give us a bit of a scare, man.
Big call.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I don't know if anything was really wrong. I just wanted the attention to be on me. I feel like Johnny, you were paying too much attention to Fatty, so I was like,
what?
Great diversion, Akram.
Since when?
Great diversion.
So you had heart problems, but they did some tests and they couldn't find one. Is that right?
Tin Man, mate.
Fucking heartless.
Did they say COVID related?
Soulless.
No, and then last week we couldn't record.
Why is that?
Record last week. Well, we came here and then Johnny wasn't here. We were like, fuck, where's Johnny?
He didn't fucking tell us.
So you were in hospital 2 weekends ago. I was in hospital last week. I became a dad for the first time.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Welcome to fatherhood.
So I'm on 3 hours sleep, so if I say anything wrong, if I fuck up,
everything you say is fucking wrong. What's the difference?
Welcome to the club, mate.
It's just every other episode.
You're not wrong.
Welcome to the club, mate.
Yeah, I'm the
this
last
is the dad's club now.
I'm the last on the table to become a dad.
I know, right? That's
Enjoy
true.
it.
Yeah.
That's true.
Enjoy, man.
In addition, our loyal viewers are going to notice that we've all got microphones now.
Yeah.
2 on stands and
upgraded.
Yeah.
Me and Adasi are holding ours like little
standalone, portable.
Can we be honest? We've been here for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Trying to work out.
You know, we've been
the new mixer, the new equipment.
Wrong.
We got there in the end.
Let's just be honest. We've been trying to work out to teach Adasi how to fucking hold the mic.
Got it.
Not make it look like it's on
There's a technique. Look, I'm doing it like you.
Have you mastered it, Darcy?
Are you sure you
I learned
got
from
it?
Fadi the best.
How awkward.
I learned from Fadi.
Just raise your hand up to the camera so everybody knows how you hold the microphone.
There you go.
And
Can anyone see me?
They can make their own decision.
There you go.
If you're on,
I learned from Fadi.
if you're listening on Spotify,
Fantastic.
just imagine how awkward a Darcy can be with a microphone.
Yeah.
No. If you listen to Spotify, you've got to switch it to YouTube just to take a look at this one.
For the algorithm.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? So you're going to be a dad again, Akram, this year?
Yeah, that's right, guys. I'm expecting my second in July.
Nice one, man.
Do you want your kid's first word to be algorithm?
I want it to be likes. Like for example, the last couple of weeks we've had over 100 views in the last two videos.
Mama, dada, likes.
Subscribe.
Well,
Algorithm.
subscribe.
Algorithm.
100%, please.
Hit that button, guys. Hit that like, share. It helps the algorithm.
What was the views last
know.
video?
Why are you getting
130 views.
I don't
Fucking
know.
10 likes. Come on, guys. Just hit the like button. It doesn't cost anything.
Fuck.
And give us your feedback, guys, as well.
Migs is looking at you, bro.
So there's a reason why I'm wearing the Chelsea jersey today. I wanted to wear it last week. Obviously, we didn't record.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show my support towards Frankie.
Well, is it a Lampard jersey?
No, it's a Chelsea jersey.
No, it doesn't. That's defeat the whole purpose.
No, but I wanted to show my support towards
You're
him.
supporting the team.
You've got a soft spot for Frank Lampard. I know that. You've had it for a while.
I just don't like the impatience of the Chelsea club.
Yeah.
I stated that last time, Johnny. I said you've got a soft spot for Lampard. I agree with you. I think it's very impatient. Why would you bring him back? Obviously, you didn't bring him for his experience. He's clearly inexperienced. You brought him back as someone who was a loyal servant to the club, someone that's got Chelsea through his veins, someone that's gonna be there for the long term. Obviously, that's what they wanted, and someone that could associate with the club on that sort of level. Not because of his expertise, not because of his caliber, not because of his experience. Now, they've obviously jumped the gun. There's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction, I believe. They shouldn't expect to be challenging
And I think,
for at least the next 2-3 years.
I think as well, they weren't that far away from the top four. I think they just needed a good run of games where they get on a good winning streak and they'd be back up there because the Premier League's been pretty close this season so far.
Look, you're both right there, Darcy. You make a good point, but I really also agree with Fatty that from a couple season and a half ago, they did not have a transfer window at all.
Yeah.
Right? Completely banned from it. Couldn't sign any new players. From that, you ended up having a bit of a successful season. We talked about it last episode, and it was kind of like just because you guys maybe exceeded expectations based on the fact that you weren't able to bring anyone new. They went a little crazy and started bringing any hot shot player of the day in because they what would they figure that they would turn around and become Premier League contender straight away. When you bring a young coach like Frank Lampard, when you have 3, 4, 5, 6 really talented young players, you got to give it time.
Oh, that's right. If you decided to bring someone like Lampard, it's a project.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
project.
It's not
You know, it's a
Exactly.
long-term thing. But
So why get rid of him? For someone who
They're probably under pressure as well for
Well,
results and whatnot. So
yeah, because, I
they've
mean-
got to look like they're doing something.
Let's face it, the last transfer window, they spent a lot of money. It's one of the highest transfer windows of all time.
yeah, guys like Timo Werner, Kai Havertz, Hakim Ziyech, and Thiago Silva, just to name a few.
Today's topic.
Thiago Silva was free transfer.
He was
Yeah.
a free transfer, but the
As in
other
terms
three
of
the other three
signing,
were,
yeah.
but the other three were extremely
So they're bringing in
expensive.
players, yeah.
And it ranks really high up there in terms of overall expenditure. So the pressure was on.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's probably what it is.
It's not so. It wasn't surprising because Abramovich has known since he's taken over Chelsea
I
to
get that.
sack coaches.
I get that,
Very
but
easily.
like even his replacement, is it worthy of?
Thomas
Tuchel.
Tuchel. It's an interesting choice, Tuchel, because the last 2 jobs he's left,
Is
he's
it
left
Tuchel
on
or Touche?
Tuchel. I think.
Touche.
Touche.
Looks like a villain, like from some-
French, yeah, he's a French villain.
But the last 2 jobs he's left on bad terms, and this is going to be very interesting to see how his relationship.
He'll definitely leave on
with
bad terms with
Abramovich.
Chelsea. Listen, you don't come to a club like Chelsea because they want to give you a chance to fucking do whatever. You
Well-
bring it. What the fuck's going on?
So we'll just carry on.
He's upset about all the talk about Frank Lampard.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's-
You get brought into a club like Chelsea because they expect results.
And he needs to understand the pressure, what goes on in the background. Because at PSG, he said, "I just want to coach," but unfortunately, at PSG, there's a lot of politics involved. So
Yeah, that's
it
right.
cost him his
Especially
job.
those big players. But anyway,
Speaking of spending a lot of money,
fuck, I was going to say speaking of something else, but anyway.
what do you want to talk about?
Speaking of jerseys, I wore this especially for you boys, especially
Yeah.
for you because I know you're a Juve. You've got a soft spot for Juve in
100%.
Serie A.
Serie A.
This is an 07-8 original Juventus jersey with the original badge, not the old
Yeah.
new J bullshit.
The proper logo.
I'd love to see
Yeah.
it.
Not
And an
the,
actual Pavel Nedved on the back, 2007-8
Personalised
season.
jersey. That their first season come back into Serie A.
Yeah, I believe it was,
think
wasn't
so.
it?
It was, yeah.
I had a soft spot for Nedved, even though he took, I believe unfairly, the got Ballon d'Or from Thierry Henry that year.
In 03.
And that, yeah, but I still got a soft spot for him.
is there a Juventus fan as well, or just?
No, I'm a Nedved fan, not a Juventus fan. No.
Like we found out you're a Man United
Oh,
fan.
here we go.
Here we go.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
I saw you coming from down the street with that one. Fucking hell.
All right. Today's topic is transfer windows.
Yeah, exciting.
Yes,
man.
it's the best thing to look forward to in June, July, August every
Yeah,
year,
it
I
is.
think, and of course the winter one as well.
Did you guys watch Sunderland Till I Die?
No, I haven't
Is
seen
that the
it.
Netflix?
Yeah.
No, not yet. I haven't seen it.
One of the most interesting things about it is the deadline day, the last day of the window, and how crazy and intense everything is. The deals that are made, they're like the last second negotiations.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
it was
That's-
always fun.
and that's
Yeah.
where the transfer window has brought into the game.
I used to religiously follow the transfer window
You just click the refresh button.
early to mid
The refresh
2000s,
button.
yeah, and Sky Sports had a feed. I
Yeah.
remember at the time,
Yeah.
and it'd be constantly updating minute by minute, and you'd be watching, and they'll tell you, oh, there's this negotiation's happening. Oh, this person to this club is back on,
Yeah.
and there's literally minutes left to go in the window.
And I tell you, this player's at the
Yeah,
airport.
it's
He's on his way
crazy.
to do his medicals.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
You know why? Because you know what it did was it made the off season actually entertaining
Yeah.
and interesting, and it created this pressure, like Johnny said, with the deadline, and it gave us something to talk about.
And you still had stuff to bet on when the games weren't playing. Like you could bet on transfers and everything. It was crazy.
Come on, man! Did you see the latest ads by the Wanderers about?
Oh yeah. Don't fucking, what is it? Don't bet or something. I watched a bit of it and I'm like, this is fucking retarded.
Don't let a bet ruin the game or something.
You ruin the game by not betting. You need to bet. The A-League's boring as it is.
I'm guessing you disagree at Darcy.
I'm not a gambling man.
The quality of football is that bad that they can't discourage people from gambling. People gamble because they want to forget how shit football is. So,
Do you have any multis for next week? Any bets that you
I
want?
don't actually.
You know
I
what? Next
don't.
week, come prepared for a new segment.
No problems.
Next week on some bets, some legs
Alright,
for the gamblers out there.
Paddy's tips.
I'm looking at you, Dennis.
Dennis Arrivederci.
Dennis, shampoo, soft hair.
Yeah. If you're listening. I
Give
don't
us
know
a-
if he's actually listened to an episode or watched an episode.
he's too busy putting bets on.
He's too busy on the stock market, that guy, buying
True.
Bitcoin and buying Afterpay and ZipPay and shit. Henry Martinez.
But
Another-
Fatty's
another
tips,
one.
eh? That's an interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be
look
good.
Betting
forward to
tips.
Fatty's
Fatty's
bets.
tips, I like that.
paid his tips.
So in the next week, I'll be getting.
And then you have a hot tip of the week.
Yeah.
Robbie Slater does it. Fuck that cunt. I'll fucking better tips.
Compete with him.
So in the next week, I'll be speaking to a loan shark, getting $10 million out and see.
Hey,
So hopefully by next week, you make me rich.
hey, you laugh about that, but there are some safe bets. If you or your brothers ever took my advice once, you'd be millionaires by now.
Why haven't you done it yourself?
Because I just want to help the people.
Very diplomatic there.
I'm just trying to help you guys out.
That's a good
and
save,
and
mate.
then
That's
it's
a good save.
it's a conflict of interest. I can't take the money for myself.
Alright, going back to the topic at hand, transfer windows. Do you guys have any in mind? It can be your own favourite teams, it can be anything that comes to mind. I'm not going to do a bit of a countdown, but there are some obvious ones that stand out in regards to bad. There's some other ones that I've got down in regards to good ones that are more retro style transfers. When I say bad transfers, what are some things that come to mind?
As in
Disappointing
flops.
players, flops, or transfer windows where there just wasn't
Overpriced.
enough cash, splurged in that period.
Transfer bans and all that shit as well.
Yeah, all that stuff.
A few clubs went through that.
And I think a lot of it, and this is an important point, especially what we're going to be discussing today, it's the price tag.
Yeah,
It's not the player, it's not the performance, it's not the goals or stats. Because if you buy a player, you get a free transfer at $2 million, and he performs at the same level as a $100 million man, it's the price tag that makes a difference in regards to
Absolutely.
whether it's a flop or whether it's a success.
100%. That's how people
Yeah.
determine whether it's been a successful transfer or not.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And keep that in mind when I tell you, to me, and Chelsea's had a lot of blunders. Chelsea's known to splash cash, and to me, my personal biggest blunder in the transfer market. So I'll tell you that a bit later on today.
oh, no problem.
Alright, so Akram, start with you.
Yeah.
Anything that comes to mind?
All right. So the first one that comes to mind, and one of the most significant transfers, I think, is the summer Neymar transfer to PSG.
Why?
Because I think that's one of the most significant we've had in since the beginning of the transfer window. Remember, like I was talking about before we went on air, 2009 Real Madrid signed a whole bunch of players: Cristiano Ronaldo, Kaká, Benzema, Xavi Alonso.
Yep.
Those four players,
Fucking the new Galacticos.
pretty much.
That was the start of the second.
But those four players did not equal as much as Real Madrid's recent 29 transfer window with Eden Hazard, Eder Militao, Ferland Mendy, Luka Jovic. Three of those players that I just mentioned now were relatively unproven. Talented, yes, but definitely not world class. Definitely not in the same league as players in 2009. What changed? The Neymar transfer. It changed in terms of inflation. It changed the way we viewed players, and in terms of their price and their value. Everything went up after that.
Can I just add as well, sorry, in regarding to inflation, I think prices were inflated. There was an artificial inflation, and a lot of that I felt was because of the English league.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of it was in the Premier League. Like, I know in the Spanish leagues and all that, Spain had a lot of big transfers.
Yeah.
But there were always notable transfers. Like when you had the Luis Figo, the Zidane, they were all record-breaking transfers at the time.
Yeah.
But they were warranted. Figo for 56 million or whatever it was, warranted. Zidane, warranted.
Yeah.
Fine, these players deserve that sort of stuff. But then the English, because of the money they had, because of the viewership and the amount of cash that was being pumped into that inflated the prices there, and the asking price for the same product became more expensive. Now, specifically, English players are very, very overpriced. Very overpriced.
Harry Maguire comes
If
to
you
mind.
if you look at English, but this is before that. I'm talking like in the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
English players, whenever they came through, automatically, it's an English product, whatever, and the media hyped it up so much that the value became inflated. So anyone of equal caliber of that player would have to at least match that price or more. I'm talking in Europe, but you could
100%.
find players from other European leagues, the Dutch leagues, the other middle sort of level leagues, not the top four leagues, that would be much better.
French league.
Yeah, that would be much better players than an English player who's valued at 30 or 40 million pounds. It was unheard of at the time to have a defender that was over 10 million pounds.
No.
It never existed.
And I think
Totally agree with
it's probably started since the Chelsea, when Abramovich
Chelsea
took
and Man
over,
City
and then Man
came
City
and blew
with
out
Abu Dhabi Group taking over there, and they've just being able to pay whatever the hell they want for players, and that's just kind of forced other clubs to talk out more.
I totally agree. But I just think that the massive push that shoved us into the current era that we're in was the Neymar deal. You think about every world
What year
record
was
transfer.
Neymar? Sorry.
2017.
Yeah.
I agree. It's probably the most influential point
Yeah.
in transfer window history.
Like you can't go backwards now from that price.
No.
That's-
Because
but-
everyone's going to, like you're right, everyone's going to come to transfer. You're going to be like, for example, if Messi was going to move to say, oh, Messi's better than Neymar.
So
It has to
There
be
has to be more.
He'll
In
break the
fact,
record.
But
You know
we
what I mean?
saw that exact consequence directly after the Neymar sale. Barcelona had flush with cash. All of a sudden, Coutinho was what? How much?
140.
140
Yeah, that's
for
Coutinho's
And what's happened? He went on loan.
Dembele 120.
Yeah.
Griezmann has also spent a fair bit on him as well.
Well, yeah, Griezmann, like in that particular period of Darcy, it
Yeah.
was that direct consequence of the Neymar deal because you're
Yeah.
not only are you looking at Barcelona with flush with cash, but you're also saying, well, if Neymar's worth 222,
Yeah.
then surely Coutinho is worth a
Half
little
of
bit more,
that.
right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that every world record transfer we've seen since Real Madrid went on that spending spree in the early 2000s, each one of them was always incrementally slightly larger.
Because he always had to beat it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you,
Oh,
always
we've
had to, you
signed
didn't have
the
to beat it by
next- Yeah.
March, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But still,
But you had to beat it.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But then Neymar just
Just
Yeah,
smashed
just
out of
blew it out of the water,
quadrupled
that's
it,
right.
yeah. And then Pogba's, well, was before that, I think the year before.
Yeah, Pogba as well.
It was the year before, right?
Yeah.
Was
That
Pogba, was
a-
Pogba 80?
And I think he hit 100.
He had 100,
Did he?
yeah.
But the thing, he hit 100.
Yeah.
Bale hit about 100.
Yeah, about
you know.
100 mark, yeah.
Cristiano Ronaldo was just under about
Yeah,
90 or
yeah,
so.
Kaká was just below Cristiano.
Yeah, Kaká, he was a world record transfer holder at one point.
For a couple of weeks.
For a couple of weeks. And then, of course, you had Zidane and Figo, so everything was incremental. Then
Yeah.
Neymar was over 100 million difference.
No, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like, that's obviously the inflation, right? Relative. Because you can't tell me in today, like, obviously the market changes. There's inflation, you
Yeah.
know, cost of goods, everything goes up.
Yeah.
Everything goes up. You know, what something cost 20 years ago is not going to cost the same today. So you can't say, oh, Zidane's worth 60 million and Neymar's
Yeah.
worth fucking 200.
Of course.
Yeah.
It's
So
not-
it's not a.
Yeah, it's
So
not
So
a-
today's
it's not
market,
comparable.
totally
It's not a-
different.
it's not a
Like
fair
I said, in
assessment.
today's market,
You're talking about 20 years ago
But
now.
that's-
yeah, but in
Isn't
today's
that-
market, if you factor in inflation, what the dollar or the
Yeah, yeah.
pound at the time cost, and now Zidane will end up being worth 300 million.
No, of course.
Sorry, can I ask you this though? You said
Okay.
in regards to flops and failures,
Yeah.
do you think Neymar as a transfer, forget the price tag, as a transfer, was
You
a
can't
failure or
forget the
flop?
price tag because you just
No.
said that the price tag is
No,
determined.
I get it,
But
but
for
as
the
a
movie
player,
that-
performance, marketing, he probably made the money back for the club.
Oh, yeah. I'm not saying that PSG didn't necessarily do poor business decision for themselves, but for the health and well-being of the game.
Okay.
Oh, they
Yeah,
give a
it's a
fuck
different
about
thing,
that.
right?
Yeah.
That's where
They
that's
don't
where I'm
care.
coming from.
For what he
But
did-
if you're
yeah.
talking about his overall success, to be honest, I would say even for his money, it was still good business.
All right. So have a think about someone who flopped performance-wise.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go to you, Darcy.
Recent times, I think
Anytime you
one
want.
comes to mind for me, Eden Hazard, at the moment.
Give him time.
Yeah, look, 100 million, we could consider the club could have got him for free the year after. He could have been over for free. And
I'm pretty sure it's close to 160 now.
what the fuck are you talking about, pounds or euro?
I'm not sure,
Yeah.
but regardless, it's over 100 million when you think about bonuses and
Well,
appearances.
yeah, but that was just transfer fee.
Are you,
Yeah.
asking,
million.
are you asking about
That-
most expensive flops or just flops in general?
Flops in general, it can be
Yeah.
£5 million and
But
played-
they're not,
I've got
as
then
interesting to
played
talk
just
about.
one
are
game.
they?
Like,
Yeah, look, you say give Hazard time, yes, but he's had the one season, he had injuries, okay. Now this season as well, still injured, and then even when he plays now, you can see he's just not taking on players as he used to with Chelsea. And you watch him play, he's got the ball, dribbles up, and then he hesitates, and then passes the ball back. And then I think
Not
part of that
confident, mate.
is part his fault. Part of his fault. He comes in to Real Madrid being unfit, a bit overweight, and he even
Yeah,
said
but,
himself.
but then coaching, where's the coach?
that's unprofessional.
Come on.
Like if my star that I paid £100 million for comes to training overweight, he's not playing on the field. He's not touching a ball until he loses 17.
And this was supposed to be his dream move, and he achieved it. And Zidane was desperate to get him as well. So he's let down a lot of people, and I think he's lucky as well that they're playing in empty stadiums at the moment. Because
But like Fadi said, where's the discipline?
Yeah.
Why isn't he?
Why wasn't he fine?
Train by yourself until you lose the weight and come back.
Yeah, do
I
something.
know a lot of coaches and teams are doing
he
that.
has-
You can't just expect him to be a...
I'm sure that there's been words with him that he's got to get back on track. And look, now he's other setback. They're getting him time off to think away off football. at the moment. So I don't know how they might cut their losses now.
In Chelsea, he was a gun. He was like, I'm
Yeah.
not saying Messi
Chelsea
status.
was a catalyst. Chelsea
Yeah, I'm
was
not
a
saying
catalyst
Messi
for
status, but he was a gun.
When
he had-
Eden Hazard playing at Chelsea, anytime you faced a Chelsea team that had Eden Hazard when he was on form, forget it. You knew that he was
He
going to
had
create
he had
or
one
score.
season where he didn't do well, except he won the.
Yeah, he had a dip.
He did have a bit of a dip.
You know what though? Like looking at different lists and doing a bit of research for today, transfers to Real Madrid are a constant thing. So maybe it's not a place, maybe it's a Real Madrid club. That
Yeah.
Actually, we look at a lot of them turned out not too bad. It's just-
I don't know about Real Madrid's youth development policy, but it looks like it's a money development policy.
no, they've got some youth. They've actually got good
yeah, it's
youth.
called the bank.
Yeah.
They've actually got good
I mean,
youth.
you can't argue with the results, can you? So.
Where's the good youth? Fucking hell.
They are there, man. They are.
Galacticos, every generation you're trying to create Galacticos. That doesn't sound like
It's a
youth
mix.
development.
They call it the Zidane's and Pavon's policy they had before.
Yeah, of course.
So does Jonathan Woodgate come to mind?
Oh, what a transfer that was! He
Great
came in injured, passed his medical somehow. Didn't play a game in his first season that he signed in 04-05. Didn't play a game. He was injured. Then the next season makes his debut. What a debut! Scores an own goal and gets sent off. Like Real won the game.
Look, I've got a name. I don't know who he is. You guys might be able to help me. I'll give you a clue and see if you get it. Fadia, I believe in you.
Here we go.
He went from West Ham to Real Madrid.
Oh, I
West
can
Ham
never
to
forget
Madrid.
this.
Wait.
This dud.
West
I
Ham
know
to
you know
Madrid.
him. I didn't know who he was until I saw him. I looked him
Fuck,
up.
I know Everton Toronto. I know Thomas Gravison.
He's from Everton,
I'm
yeah.
like, what the fuck was that? How did that happen there?
First name Julian.
Oh, Julian Faubert.
The most pointless transfer
Come
ever.
on, bro.
The most pointless
That was
transfer.
ridiculous.
That was. Do you think if one word to describe it, pointless?
Yeah. What was that?
I don't know. They're just out of nowhere. And the worst thing is, you look at the picture, the late Alfredo Di Stefano holding his jersey up in the
That's
presentation.
right. Yes,
What the
yes. I recall that. Yeah,
Seriously.
100%.
And then another incident where he's sitting on the bench falling asleep.
Because he was on against
Was that first or last?
Yeah, I think he played 2 or 3 games off the bench. That's it. The most pointless transfer.
He just made it. He went from West Ham to Real Madrid. Think about it.
Most pointless.
With Real Madrid was a number of these signings you're bringing up were just marketing stunts, man. Just PR
Just trying to get
Thomas
English.
Gravison was a marketing stunt.
Not a marketing stunt
Fuck,
to
I don't know
sell,
anyone who bought that jersey.
not a marketing stunt to sell shirts, but to appease the fans. We sold Makaleli.
Again,
so,
who the fuck's Gravison?
No,
Hey,
listen,
hey,
bro.
no,
Listen, no.
He
We
worked.
sold
He worked.
Makaleli.
Fatty copied his haircut.
Fucking idiot.
No, listen, bro. We sold Makaleli. The next season, fans were pissed off because we lost our defensive midfielder. So what does he do? He goes, "Oh, look, I replaced him with another defensive midfielder." That's all it was.
Yeah, if you replace him
that-
with a fucking superstar.
That was the
maybe.
start.
No, of
I
course.
think,
I'm not saying it's valid. That's not.
I
was a
think
criticism.
Gravison's signing was the start of Real trying to find their Makaleli replacement. And it kind of happened. You
Right.
know,
But what makes you
listen to
think?
me.
Wait. What makes you think that you get rid of Makaleli and replace him with Gravison? That was like me breaking up with
Thing is-
J Lo and going to a Caramara hookah.
No. So what happened? They went. The whole. When Makaleli was sold.
You love that analogy,
They went.
didn't you, today?
That was gold, Johnny. That was gold.
When Makaleli was sold, I think 2003. They went the whole season without a replacement, and they struggled. And that year,
Yeah,
they only signed-
but you're talking about.
and then they
Makaleli.
signed Gravison winter transfer window as a cheap option. That's what it was.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but you're saying
Bro.
as if we're defending the move. It was a shit move.
It was-
No,
It didn't work
I'm
out.
trying to understand
And
the
then-
logic. Like
There
you
is
went,
no logic.
Yeah, you went from Makaleli was probably one of the greatest defensive midfielders.
Yeah.
Of his generation, right? Of that late '90s, early 2000s, and
Replacing
fucking-
move. Yeah, but it
you
was
got someone. You got someone who
There was-
struggled in a
look,
Merseyside derby.
That was a time when Real just their transfer policy just was off track at the time.
Yeah, they were falling apart. It was just
The
a
club
bad move. Like, you
Coach was sacked,
How did they
captain
even?
was
Okay,
sacked.
let me. Here's another question.
Okay.
How did they even know that Gravison existed in this world? Like, if they,
the-
like,
I don't know,
I
mate,
guarantee,
mate, if
I
the
guarantee you, they obviously they have scouts that keep their eye on the Premier League and the top players. Gravison would not have been featuring
with
on
the,
someone.
with the
like,
Premier League being
someone's
jumped
fucking
down
lied
people's
to me,
throats,
bro.
with the Premier League jumped down people's throats on TV.
Someone around Madrid was watching Premier League on Saturday night. Press the red button.
Yeah, to watch all four.
Four games.
Bring that back.
There's
Oh,
4
bring
games
that
at the
back,
same
man.
time.
How good was that? Hey, no,
Over 1.5 goals in this one. I've got
hey, don't laugh. That was the best because you used to press red.
And pick
So
a
if you're
game you
watching
want.
the featured game, then you'd press red. There'd be 4 games on the screen. Sometimes you'd leave it on that screen so you could see what's happening.
100%.
You got a goal there. You got a
and then
goal
you go
here.
press that one and enlarge it.
Fuck, amazing.
Good times.
Bring that back. That was the
100%.
best.
Yeah.
That was the best. Mid
Now,
2000s.
Now, there's been a lot of failures going into the Premier League. So from La Liga, Serie A,
Everywhere.
going into the Premier League and they flopped. One that comes to mind is Soldado
Yeah,
from Spain to Tottenham.
yeah. He made a name for himself at Valencia, and then big move to Tottenham. Actually, Tottenham that year, then they sold Bale. All that money they made, they spent on like 8 or 9 signings,
Yeah.
and Soldado was one of them. And
He was, that's right.
completely flopped and went back to Spain. And
Who was the other attacking player they got? Was it Argentinian?
no, Lamela
Lamela.
He's still there.
is still there.
Well,
He's
sorry,
not- I think
he's
the
vanished.
I think he's the only one that's there from those signings.
He had one season that was half decent, and then.
Yeah.
But then again,
And-
like
and-
Tottenham,
and,
same
and they
shit.
signed
bottle it.
Paulinho as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Nasser
As
Chadley.
usual, Tottenham, flash in the pan, bottlers, rubbish.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, that's how I feel. Look, one that I would, it wasn't directly, okay, he came from Spain, and it wasn't a flop initially, but then he flopped afterwards. Torres, obviously he was amazing at Liverpool,
The Chelsea move. Yeah.
but then to Chelsea he's just fucking kaput. I don't know what the fuck.
He
I'm
won.
saying.
He won the Champions League.
Yeah, with that goal against Barcelona
He won
when he rounded
that
the
same year.
keeper.
He won the Euro. He was top goal scorer in the Euro.
I'll think of another one, Alvaro Morata.
Morata,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
Morata was a
He could not
massive
handle.
flop.
He couldn't handle the EPL with Chelsea, and then went
Yeah,
back to
it just didn't work
Spain.
To me, a bigger, I wouldn't say flop, but one that didn't work out is Shevchenko.
Oh, badly. And he moved second for family reasons.
I used to love Shevchenko in Milan.
I
Yeah,
thought-
same.
I thought Shevchenko was really lured because of Abramovich and that connection there, and he was a personal friend, from what I understood. Is that right?
There could be that too, but also I think because his wife's American, they want to move to England. And,
Yeah,
so
Shevchenko at Milan was a beast.
Yeah, he
But
It was. It was
when he
probably-
when he came to Chelsea, scored a couple of goals here and there, but it was nothing. It was never.
And I
Yeah.
never understood why. Like, what was that?
Here's another question. What about Crespo? Crespo, I
Same.
felt at
I
Chelsea
wouldn't
was.
call it a flop.
He wasn't a
What?
flop. He was.
His numbers weren't that bad.
He was okay, but you know
Yeah.
what? He wasn't amazing.
No,
Yeah.
he wasn't Drogba level,
Yeah, he wasn't.
and he
flop,
wasn't Crespo or Parma or Lazio level,
Yeah.
I remember.
but he wasn't a complete flop
I
either.
remember he was signed.
But I think they were overshadowed at Chelsea by Drogba. Like when Crespo was there with Drogba, it wasn't about. It was about Drogba.
I remember
Crespo, he'd come on as a sub, and you were like, "Fuck, I forgot they've got
Oh,
Crespo."
we just mentioned Torres, we just mentioned Shevchenko, we just mentioned Crespo.
Yeah.
Does that give Drogba more credit for what he's done?
100%.
Yeah,
In so many ways, it does. Like, I think the fact that I think Drogba is one of the best, like, sleeper players of all time. What I mean by that is he didn't really come into his own until he was like in his mid-20s.
that's right. Yeah,
He
He
was
was a
not
very
hyped
late
at all.
bloomer.
He was a very real late bloomer.
straight from Marseille.
So you think about that as you know, all of a sudden it just clicked for him.
He's a different
then
player,
the
though.
pressure of going into Premier League.
Drogba's a different player because for me, he's not a refined striker. He's not an Henry kind of striker. He's a very explosive, raw. He's very
Physical.
raw,
Good
very physical, strong.
inside outside the
He'll-
box.
He'll do things that aren't expected through just sheer will, determination, power, explosiveness, and he'll fucking rip goals left, right, and center with his head, with his foot, back to goal. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
But he wasn't a classy he's scoring classy goals. He was just power.
his presence was very
yeah,
strong.
strong presence. A very strong player.
I want to go back to Torres for a second before I drop another Chelsea name.
Fuck, talk about Chelsea today.
No, just a couple of names.
Couple. There's 6 now.
Did anyone bring tissues? No?
No,
Oh,
mate.
good. Keep going.
That's when you're supposed to jump in and say, but you always talk shit about Real Madrid. Anyway,
Mate, I'm just enjoying.
you missed the boat
I'm
on that
just
one.
enjoying the
Hey,
commentary over
straight
here.
over your head.
Would you consider the Torres move a flop?
To Chelsea?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially apart from that goal against Barcelona.
Well, once again, it's because of the money as well. 50
Yeah.
million,
Yeah.
the way he left Liverpool to chase the money, and it just didn't work out as the big superstar he was meant to
Yeah.
be.
I reckon if he stayed at Liverpool another year, they may have had a decent crack at the title. That year that he left when he was on form, Liverpool really suffered after that. And I think if he stayed, they would have been proper contenders that year.
Yeah.
But then again, that's Liverpool's whole adage. Every year. Now they fucking won it once, and now look,
To 30 years.
idiots.
We've already won it.
Yeah, that's it. They don't want it anymore now because they know it's never going to happen again.
There's one striker that we're forgetting from Chelsea. It's one of the signings they've done.
Oh wait, Adrian Mutu.
Who? Yeah.
So-
He was a flop. Come on.
Kesman.
No.
Taya Kazman. No, I liked Kazman.
He was still a flower.
But Mutu
Yeah.
was a flop. Hang on, you talked about flops. Mutu was a
Anelka.
flop.
No, he was in the bags.
What about Mark Bosnich at Chelsea?
Yeah.
Speaking of bags.
Yeah, Mutu, Bosnich. whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
What a connection.
No, someone else. Come on,
Someone else.
striker.
What?
Think
Same
about-
era? Earlier? Later?
Same as the Abramovich era.
Abramovich era striker.
Abramovich,
Fuck,
which
you guys
here's the
churned.
last 17
You
years.
guys churned through a lot of players, man.
No,
There's a
talking
lot of
about Nelka,
fucking
we
mid
know.
players and attackers that we're probably forgetting.
Yeah, narrow down a little bit more.
I'll give you a clue. He ended up at Man United as well.
Falcao.
Yes.
Falcao.
Oh,
Yeah, that's I forgot
that's
he
right.
played
I
at
forgot
Chelsea.
he went to Chelsea at all.
Forgot he went to Man U either.
No, I remember him at Man U. His little stint there.
But he's a player that killed it at Atletico.
Did he come from Monaco first?
Killed it at Monaco. Went back
Yeah.
to Monaco after England and
Even
killed it
at,
at
Still
Monaco.
even at
killed it,
Porto
okay.
as well.
But in the Premier League, he just couldn't cut it.
Even FC Porto did well.
Yeah.
I feel like it's too softly. The Premier League's maybe too physical for him. That's what it is.
Okay.
Some players don't deal with the physicality
Honestly, I
of
think
the
the
Premier
Premier
League.
League was too difficult, too physical for a lot of the players we've mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately, players like Shevchenko, Crespo, they weren't expecting the
Italian
kind
league
of
suited
physicality.
them very, very well.
Speaking of, and we touched on Man United. 30, Alexis Sanchez.
Look, I wouldn't call Alexis Sanchez a flop. I think at the clubs, the moves he made were wrong moves, and he had a lot of shit going on, from what I understood, and he's dealing with a lot of bullshit. But I mean, it's not an excuse. Although, I don't know. I think
Why would you say it's not a flop?
at United,
At United, not at Arsenal. Arsenal, he was great.
Yeah,
yeah. What about at
A
Inter?
lot of.
What about Inter Milan?
into flop too.
Yeah, I've not doing much at Inter.
He's another player. He's not a superstar. He comes off the bench. He's not a starter.
Yeah, but regardless of whether
But at United, he was signed as the number 7, as the main player from Arsenal. We took the main player from Arsenal,
Yeah.
and he didn't live up to the hype.
I don't know. I don't think he obviously didn't perform at the same level he did at Arsenal. Arsenal, he was an important player for us
Yeah.
for those years and won the FA Cup and whatnot. So
Well, let me summarise it with this. The first year he went to Inter, he was the second or third highest paid player in the United squad. So they were still paying for most of his wages while he was at Inter. I think it was De Gea, and I don't know if it was Pogba or Sanchez second and third.
yeah.
But that tells you a lot if United are willing to pay for him not to play.
look, he's obviously a quality player. You can't deny that. As a player, he's absolute quality. Why it didn't work for him at United, I don't know. Because it worked for him at other clubs. So it's
I
interesting.
always find it like it does happen.
How do you
players,
think? How do you think he was at Barcelona before he came to Arsenal?
He wasn't too bad actually.
Yeah,
He scored
decent.
some great goals. He was there and thereabouts. Like
And
he wasn't amazing. He wasn't lighting the
think-
world
yeah,
on
no,
fire.
but
But
no one's
obviously,
saying Alexis Sanchez wasn't a quality player.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I do find that I think players when they start approaching 30, and their body's starting to break down just a little, and you might not even notice it. They're still producing the goods on the field, but then they do a transfer, and then the club is different, and the culture and the locker room is different. Something is off, and all of a sudden the results aren't there.
Possibly.
It happened with Hazard. I mean himself, he was getting up there, which leads me to a question: at what age are you guys comfortable buying a player for like 100 million nowadays?
It's got to be under 30.
Yeah, under 30.
Mid-20s.
Under
30 would be
28.
capping it.
I'll say under 28.
Mid-20s.
If not lower.
Yeah, 27 maybe.
Not for that kind of money, no. Over 30 it doesn't make sense.
I mean, Hazard was 28,
But okay,
right?
but,
Yeah,
you
now-
got, but,
now
but
he's
there are
30.
going to be some exceptions to the rule. For example, if Messi moved this year or this last
Yeah,
year, whenever all
they-
this shit
yeah,
happened,
That
what are you going to say?
wouldn't be a footballing move. That'll be a marketing
That's
move.
an anomaly. That's
Yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying.
yeah,
it's
totally
different.
Yeah.
You're transferring
Cristiano
a 34
Ronaldo, case in point.
Yeah, that's right.
Cristiano's 37 or 36. Right now, he's still worth 100 million.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
he's-
of the marketing value he brings.
and his output as well still is
His
No,
output's
pretty
still
good.
pretty
Yeah,
shit.
Just
Exactly
quickly,
right.
because the name popped up when you mentioned Man United and Inter Milan, you were talking about Sanchez. What about Lukaku at Man United?
His
Yeah.
numbers went
Oh,
bad.
yeah, I don't think he flopped. I think he was underappreciated.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
I
I think he was harshly done by, and they hounded him out of United because they thought he was shit or slow or whatever. He's just a different player.
Look
But
at him at
at
Inter.
him.
He's ripping it.
Yeah,
in
look
the
at him
Serie A.
now.
I think
Look,
that-
the Italian league probably a little bit slower, so it's a different
Yeah.
side, and he would be a dominant physical player in the Italian league as opposed to in the Premier League where it'd be a bit more equal with
Yeah.
players he's playing up against,
Yep.
just in terms of the style. But I think at Man United he was very harshly criticised for not
It
performing.
really depends on when they come in, and how they come in. Number one, the price tag, definitely.
Yep.
But number two, in terms of the hype, the hope that the fan base has, I think Lukaku came in with this hope that he was gonna, for some reason, turn this club around for him. He was gonna be the point of this fantastic attack. Pogba was playing there already, so
Yeah.
you had this you had your special midfielder there.
I'm trying to say. I think it's like trying to say like the black connection or something.
No. Just in terms of
I thought Black Lives Matter.
I knew you were going to say that.
Did you know he was going to say that?
I knew that. That's what
You should have stopped him then.
Yeah.
Anyway, but no,
I wanted
you
to say it.
you had your two marquee players there, and they just thought like for some reason it was going to change their career around. Plus the transfer fee as well. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but prior to signing for Man United, that last season for Everton, he had a pretty good.
He was decent.
he had a
Everton.
really
He
good
was.
season.
I was upset that Chelsea let him go. He's a Chelsea
Yeah,
player.
he wasn't given a chance
Okay,
at
here's
Chelsea.
another one. If you're speaking of big black strikers,
Benteke?
yeah, Benteke, exactly.
Okay.
Now he came to Liverpool and he had a bit of a good spell, a little bit.
Yeah.
He was hot and cold, and he started to get weird.
Yeah.
And then he went out and he went to they got a Villa.
Villa,
And
Crystal
then where
Palace.
does he end up? He went somewhere else and he went back to Villa. Now I don't know where he is
Crystal
now.
Palace.
Palace.
Yeah.
But you
West
reckon-
Ham. Did he go to West Ham as well? I don't know. He was all over
don't
the
think
place.
so.
He played around those mid-tier clubs and just
Yeah.
he just never. I think moving to Palace after that was like that's it, you're done.
Yeah.
Because
Do you
if you're
think-
going to go from Liverpool down to Palace, you.
Do you think Liverpool signed him because he looks like Heskey?
Big Emil Heskey, huh?
So
Heskey was only good because of his partnership with Owen. He was
Newcastle
never got
Jets. Newcastle Jets.
Oh,
Marquee.
legend.
Great.
Marquee. They've got him in their Hall of Fame.
So Johnny, you've asked a lot about players who've come in and flopped in the Premier League. Do you have like an overall point to that? Like, is there something that you're alluding to there?
Well, just adapting to the Premier League's not easy. I mean, another big name, big superstar that smashed it in Italy and could not break it into the Premier League, and I read a lot about him from Ferguson, was Veron.
Yeah.
And
That's right.
Ferguson talked in his book about how great of a player Veron is. How much, and I started training, and he just could not do it on game day. Whether he wouldn't listen to instructions, so he would do his own thing, or he couldn't adapt to the style of play, or whatever it was.
He was a gun at Lazio and Parma. I remember he was a great player.
Well,
Just a
well-
big, lanky stride in the middle.
World class midfielder who could not break it into long term into Man United or Chelsea.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've got to say, like, is it not such a funny one? Like, what do you think overall, in your opinion, what it is about the Premier League that makes it difficult?
Gameplay, pace.
Physicality. Maybe.
The pace.
Physicality.
I think the pace is definitely one of the major factors.
They're like
When you
quick
compare it
football.
to the Italian league and the Spanish league,
Liga,
La Liga is very technical.
Very slow, much slower.
Italian is much slower.
Yeah.
The English,
Especially back then.
yeah, the English league is very back and forth, not as technical, but very fast paced, very
Very
action packed. They're very
Yeah.
frenetic.
Yeah.
So if you're not up to speed with the pace, you find yourself getting caught out quickly, found out quickly. By the time you catch up, the game's
The
already
action
halfway
from
gone.
one side of the field to the other in an instant. Yeah.
You're talking about English players before, Fadi, about flops and overpriced. One of the biggest flops in transfer windows in England, Andy Carroll.
Yeah,
We
Carroll
mentioned
last
him.
time.
Definitely overrated.
He's absolutely a massive flop, and he still remains to be a flop.
Yeah. Don't know
Liverpool
why.
fans thought they signed the next fucking I don't know what.
Ian Rush or something.
Terrible, the ponytail reminds
Yeah.
me of JP. All talk and no product. But
Yeah.
I hope he's not listening, otherwise
I hope he's listening.
he'll cop the claw.
But
Akron, I've got one for you.
Okay.
Only you could answer this.
Okay.
only you. Wow.
Immobile to Dortmund.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, and this is another one. Like, do you think it's like? I think the answer there is like just it's something to do with the Italian Serie A, especially at this time that he went. So he moved to Dortmund for a pretty good fee.
Well, they
Yeah.
tried to replace Lewandowski at that stage. He went
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Bayern Munich.
So
Yeah.
they
Different players, man.
Yeah.
Different players.
Well,
Different
Aubameyang
players,
was-
I agree.
Aubameyang was still there.
But the mystery about it is that he went to Dortmund, did not do well at all, went back to Serie A. The guy is leading goal scorer every year.
And he also had a stint in Sevilla. Didn't do well with
You say different players, but the way they thought, I'm guessing, is replacing goals with goals.
That's
True,
not
but
like
the
that.
Lewandowski.
Look at him. Like
he's talked of-
Immobile is fucking 5'5" and. fucking
Nah,
Lewandowski's-
he's
Yeah.
a pretty big guy. He's a
No,
big
he's
guy.
not a big guy.
He's
No, he's
No, he's not that
Look him
not
up,
that tiny.
Tom. Look him up.
Wasn't he the top goal scorer in Serie A last season?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did.
And that's what I mean. Lewandowski and Immobile, well, they both bring you with a.
But the difference is, Johnny, is that like
look him up.
Lewandowski talks often about playing the attacking midfield position for a little while, and how that changed the way he looked at the game.
He looks small.
1.85 m.
He's 6 foot.
Yeah, he's a big guy. But Lewandowski doesn't play exactly like a big guy. He's not a tiger man. Lewandowski's not a guy who lays the ball on with his back to the goal all the time. For him,
Yeah, he just seems tall and lanky.
He's very just very clinical
but
in
he's
goal.
just very clinical
Yeah,
and
he is
very
very
skillful. He does not get enough credit for how skillful he is.
I agree.
He played the number 10 role for a little while, and he talked about how that opened up from his point of view where to go as a striker. And then when he moved back into a striker, he really improved his game.
I think we could spend a whole hour talking about bad transfers and flops
Yeah.
easily. I haven't even heard any of your Arsenal ones.
Bad ones.
Give me one quick one before we move on to the good ones.
Junichi Inamoto.
Yes,
was gonna be the next,
2001 or 2000. Yeah.
Yeah, the next. Fucking, I forget now.
But was
Can't
he-
say.
was
Who's
he
the
a-
next big thing?
Was he a business decision as well?
No business decision.
Getting an Asian player.
No, not really, because back then it wasn't about that, and Wenger never did it because of that. Wenger always bought raw talent that he could develop
So do you
into
think
how
it
he
was
wanted.
more of Wenger just thinking that whoever he thought was
No,
good,
Wenger
he
thought-
was never wrong, so, you know.
No, Wenger saw something in him for whatever reason and bought him, and he just never, like, he made a handful of appearances and then he got loaned out to Fulham or whatever it was, and he just vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
He's probably fucking making sashimi somewhere now in some little bar in
You're not wrong.
Nagasaki.
Sushi hub. The local sushi hub.
Sushi hub.
Oh, I
Where's
promise.
that? Parramatta Westfield.
Maryland Stockies.
It's not Sushi Hub anymore. They changed it. It's something else.
I said I was going to mention my biggest Chelsea flop, according to my opinion. It's the goalkeeper.
Your biggest
Kepa
Chelsea flop.
Arrizabalaga. Yeah, he's a 80 million spent on him.
Not worth it.
No.
I mean, I totally agree it's not worth it, but can I push back a little?
Here we go.
Always.
Always. You think he's as big a flop in terms of overall importance as De Bruyne?
I don't know if De Bruyne have called him a flop. He just wasn't
What do
going
you
to have
mean?
a chance.
What do you mean?
Well, when De Bruyne got brought in, he obviously didn't meet the hype, didn't meet success, and now you see the player he is now. From that point of view, don't you see that as more of a loss?
No, that's not a flop. That's
not about- it's not about the-
impatience
yeah.
by Chelsea. Same as
Yeah, but
Salah, Mo Salah, Lukaku.
Yeah.
Like all these examples, the coaches, like it's all.
So
we've
you're
spoken
saying
about
you don't put the
impatience.
blame on the player, that's the club's fault.
Yeah, that's
But whereas with
Whereas the
Kepa's
goalkeeper-
comparison, it's,
He's made too many blunders, I got.
Yeah, what's ridiculous.
to me they're not wanting to come off and they're shit. Literally
Yeah,
shit.
that sub,
Yeah,
that
that
sub
was-
was massive, bro. That was enormous.
It's a Sardi, yeah.
what is Asadi's face when he's like,
Yeah.
you don't want to come off?
Once again, the price tag plays against him as well.
That's why
Yeah.
they've signed Edward
Fair
Cisse.
enough.
Edward Cisse.
If he was a goalkeeper who they paid $10 million for, we wouldn't be talking about him.
But
Fair
do you
enough.
think? Sorry about that. That when he didn't want to come off for that sub, do you think he thought that he was that big because of the transfer? Like, do you think that his price tag made him behave that way, or that's
Yeah,
just
I think it's fair to
if
say.
he was there
mate.
for free, he would have done the same
Because
thing?
I think it's fair to say, mate, because it's the only explanation.
Delusions
that
of
makes sense.
Granger.
It's the only explanation that makes sense, to be honest.
All right, I want to move on to the positive stuff,
Here we go.
the good ones.
Yeah.
Good
You've got
transfers.
one?
I've got the time where good business deals happen with transfers. Juventus in 2001 when they sold Zidane for that world record fee at the time, and then the same season they bought Buffon, Thuram, and Nedved.
Yeah.
Well, that's money
That's
well
a
spent,
haul,
man.
yeah.
That is awesome money spent.
Well, Juve have a good history of making good transfers.
Why is that funny? I said it is good.
Good,
fucking
good
business.
free transfers actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bosman free.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was that Andrea Pirlo?
Kadira,
Khedira.
Alves.
Was Ramsey free as well?
Yeah.
Aaron, yeah.
Everyone that Arsenal everyone that went from Arsenal was free. We didn't make
Yeah.
money on anybody.
Yeah.
We don't make money on players.
In saying that, one of the deals that came up as good value was Henry from Monaco to Arsenal.
Yeah, I think it was 10.5 or 11 million at the
11
time.
million at the
Yeah,
time.
at the time, something like that.
To Juventus. You went to Juve.
From Juve.
From Juve to
From
Juventus.
Juventus to Arsenal.
Yeah.
He went from Monaco to Juventus. Juventus he was played as a winger, and then Wenger said, yeah, "Come to me. I will teach you to score." Like that.
Yeah.
And then the
I
rest is
mean,
history,
if you
as
spoke
they
to
say.
him like that, I guess he would have.
The rest is history, as they say. 11 million became what it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Can-
I don't know what we sold him to Barcelona.
Can I
for,
ask though, why was Wenger talking to him in English instead of French?
but do you know the conversation? So you got to take my word as gospel. Fucking hell.
I've been studying the last few weeks, man.
The banter back and forth.
All right, I've got one I want to bring up, but I'm scared about.
Here we go.
Darcy getting angry.
Me, well,
How about being a flop or a
Go,
good?
go for it.
He's been
Go
angry
for it.
all night, mate, so I don't know.
Go for it.
Maybe you shouldn't do
Look, it's probably one of the best transfers in the history of football. But I don't want you to get upset at this, alright?
Oh, no, none taken.
How can you get upset? Someone that holds a microphone like
No,
that?
none taken. What the fuck?
Alright. Platini.
I didn't see that coming.
Oh, fuck, neither did I actually. I was trying to think, racking my brain. Who's he
Personal
talking
beef.
about?
That's
So,
Throwback.
is your personal beef settled with Platini?
I'm over it.
Personal beefs with Burger King. Yeah, that's another topic.
So Platini was Saint Etienne
Yeah.
to Juve for 129,000 euros,
Yeah.
pounds, whatever it was.
At the
like-
time,
Cheap
that
as
would have
chips, man.
And you might think, oh, inflation and other stuff, but in the same era, you got to remember that Maradona sold for 7 million.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. No.
So at 129,000
A fraction of
for
that.
someone
if
who won
you've got-
Ballon d'Or 3 years after
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
like it's
Yeah, and someone
Yeah.
that you would consider in, the greatest 11 team,
Yeah.
or at least in the
Absolutely.
second.
And what
second
year was
greatest
that?
11 team.
The signing?
he would have been early 80s.
Yeah, it would have been.
He won the Euros in '84 as well.
I think it was 82.
Yeah.
Like before the Euros.
Yeah.
So once again, it was same era because
Yeah.
Maradona went from Barca to Napoli 83.
Yeah. No,
84,
same
if I'm
era.
not-
You're absolutely right. It was a
84 if I'm
great
not
pickup.
mistaken.
It was an absolutely great pickup, and I mean, like Platini, top 5 French player of all time. I think there's no argument in that.
Top
Yeah.
3?
Possibly top 3.
Yeah, I'd
You
say it's
guys-
close, top
On Reyes, Zidane, Platini, then 3 in any order you want. But who comes close to challenging them?
Just Fontaine, Raymond Coppa.
Tigana, maybe.
Nah,
Nah, I wouldn't take Tigana, bro.
Was
I'd take
it
more.
Papin?
I'd take.
Jean-Pierre Papin?
No.
Papin, maybe.
I'd take midfielders from the early 2000s in France.
Makelele.
Yeah.
Vieira.
I'd
Vieira's
take, not
one.
Vieira, but I'd take a Makelele maybe.
Probably.
I'd take a Makelele.
And,
Look, either way, like Platini, that's definitely a great deal. Also, Marco van Basten went to AC Milan.
Who's on the list?
1 million.
600,000 euros.
600,000 euros. How crazy is that?
There was in euros back
I'm
then.
gonna,
whatever.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring a more recent transfer that's paying a lot of dividends. Luis Suarez to Atletico Madrid.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That is really doing quite well. I think Atletico are really great position to win La Liga. I
think that was more of a slap in the face to Barcelona, more of a fuck you. Because he's just
He's definitely motivated.
He
eh?
is
Yeah,
doing so well
absolutely.
for them. Like they're really on course to win La Liga this season.
And you hear reports that Messi's so pissed off about
He
it.
still is about it, yeah.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Every interview he does, he brings it up.
Does he? I haven't seen it after every game or just.
No, like every time it's a one-on-one, in-depth interview. In the
Yeah.
last 6 months, I think it's brought up 3
Yeah.
times about.
Oh, he was impacted by his departure. Yeah.
Yeah, they had a great partnership.
Speaking of Atletico, there's one that's not mentioned much, and it's not a big transfer, but it's smart in my eyes.
They signed or they let go?
Atletico signed the Michelis for free.
Yeah.
You remember the Michelis?
Yes.
Yeah.
From Malaga or Bayern or wherever he was at the time. He got it for free. 2 weeks later, Man City I think came in and paid £5-7 million for him.
Yeah, they.
Yeah, I don't know
They-
about
they
that.
paid
I don't
some-
know exactly the
some
amounts, but I remember that transfer.
Yeah.
2 million, 5, whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like you made 5 million
They made money
in
for
2
nothing,
weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, from a free. Yeah.
So that, to me, that's quick and smart business.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, good deal, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of Atletico, for some reason they produce strikers. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Villa, Torres,
Forlan.
Falcao.
Aguero, Forlan.
Forlan.
Yeah, all
Even
all come
keepers
through there.
as well.
Yeah, all come
Oblak.
through there.
Oh, he's one of the best keepers in the world at the moment.
A lot of,
At De Gea, they had the keeper Courtois as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so
No.
Something's going on there.
We spoke about Maradona being a world transfer record at the time.
Yep.
6.9 million. Looking back though, and how much income and business and what he's done for Napoli, it's 2021. He was born in 1984, if I'm not 83, 84.
Born?
He was
Born.
born. And he's still such a symbol, creating revenue still for the club
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
So that's a bargain.
I thought you were going to ask what would he be worth in
Yeah.
today's market.
Today's market, well, like Akram was talking about the Neymar influence or factor,
Yeah.
What do you put? Yeah.
it will be similar to Messi, I'm guessing.
and then David Beckham's moved around in terms of impact and.
Sorry, I'm talking about Maradona.
I'm just mentioning.
And
Fuck,
you,
now that's
what are you
blasphemy.
doing?
Now I've done it.
upsetting.
Now I've done
upsetting.
it.
and you
Fuck,
compare
here
it
we
to
go.
David
No, I'm
Beckham.
not saying.
Here we go.
I'm saying you talk about impact. But
Now you've upset him.
I'm so glad this happened.
The only thing similar they have is that they both have 2 legs. That's about it.
Now you've upset him.
Anyway,
It's going awkward now.
Fucking hell.
I've done it.
So
I think
you
I'm-
doing alright?
I think
You know what he just...
I think
guys,
I'm off.
just for the record, he just scribbled and he goes... fucking Killer Darcy.
Okay, I'm out.
Cure
That's his
Bart.
hit list.
Die Bart.
D-Bud.
Now, speaking of, we spoke about Platini being a bargain. Another big bargain, Cantona.
Yes.
Yeah.
From Leeds
Leeds
United
to
to
Man
Man
United.
United. 1.2 million.
That was an interesting transfer as well because Leeds and Manchester United are rivals. They're absolute rivals. They hate each other. So for him to go from there was a massive slap in the face. And he wasn't like he was shit at Leeds. Like he was already making a name at Leeds, and they were trying to build a team around him. But then obviously went to United, and the rest is history. He did what he did at United. It wasn't a very long career, obviously.
He put Man United on the map, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because at the time there was a lot of English players. There was not a lot of foreign influence
Yeah.
in the Premier League. He was one of the early foreigners to play in the league. United were, all the freaking Mark Hughes and fucking what's his name at the back, Steve Bruce and
Yeah.
Gary
Pallister.
all the fucking
Schmeichel.
big English burly players and not much skill.
But for the simple he's become, how many fans he's brought to United.
Yeah.
How many fans do I know in Australia that became fans? And Neil was here on the show a few episodes ago. The influence that he's had worldwide for the Man United branding.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
big,
I liked
big
United
impact.
in '96.
And that collar, used to put the collar up, and
So for 1.2 million,
yeah.
once again it's a bargain.
Yeah.
Great bargain.
I don't know how much City bought Aguero for, but he's become a symbol for the club as well.
Because of that title win,
Yeah.
really more than anything.
And
like he was,
That title
he was
win, but at the same time, he's now top goal scorer in the club's history.
He's one of my favourite strikers
he was,
in the Premier League.
That season, the team played out of their skin as well, obviously to win the league for the first time. But Aguero was a catalyst for them,
Yeah.
and he's always going to be remembered for that final day, that game, that goal against QPR.
Yeah.
And
Look at his numbers, man. He
it was
suffered.
amazing watching that. Actually,
Look at his
because
look at his numbers and the injuries. Amount of injuries he suffered. You could imagine how many more goals he would have scored
Yeah.
as well, man. Like he is one of my favourite strikers, I think, in the Premier League that I've seen.
yeah, on his day, he was
Yeah.
very lethal.
So can you guys think he can be your own teams? He can be in generally speaking. Can you think of bargains or good value or your favourite transfers to someone that you're happy that your club has bought? We spoke about Henry. We spoke about Woodgate.
Yeah. Good old Johnny Woodgate.
Can you think of, like, a surprise for me was when I was looking up lists of the worst transfers, Kaká to Real Madrid kept coming up constantly. So it's up to you guys if it's a personal favourite, but what's something good, something that the transfer window you were surprised by,
Funny you
good
say
value.
Kaká to Madrid. I think that's harsh because why? Because they compared Kaká to how he was at Milan. Kaká at Milan, and especially in the Champions League, was ruthless. He was an absolute machine. And
He was.
But when he went to Real as well, he was starting to show signs of his injuries as well. I think that's what hampered his career at Real.
It
as
goes
well.
back to what I said.
I think the common denominator is everyone that goes to Real gets very harshly judged. No, like I'm not taking a piece.
Yeah,
of
no,
them,
no,
but
yeah, it's
when they
true.
go there,
It's
if their first season isn't great,
It's tough. It's tough expectations.
Yeah, it's very very
One transfer, I think, from a Real Madrid fan point of view, Luka Modric. He, the tug of war between Real Madrid and Tottenham to get him at the club. He trained by himself to force the move, and then this stupid Spanish media voted him the worst signing of the year in 2012. And then the one moment that kickstarted his career at Real was that second round tie in the Champions League against Man United at Old Trafford. That goal, that's what kickstarted his career. And since then, he's really shown one of the best buys for the club and what he's won for the club.
So that's what comes to mind for you?
That's at the moment, yeah.
For me, what comes
Modric.
to mind, especially in the January transfer, sorry to say it's another Real Madrid example, is Marcelo and Higuain. Marcelo came in for like 13 million.
Your mate,
Yeah.
He's, quite possibly the best left back Real Madrid's ever had.
Yeah, and
Higuain's, he was fairly successful there.
Gago came at the same time as well, those two.
Yeah,
But unfortunately for him, it didn't work out.
yeah. So I would say those two were really, really great examples of good business. Yeah, I don't know. What about you, Ferdy, man?
I mean, look, for us, if I'm speaking about Arsenal, obviously you mentioned Henry already. That was probably one of the best business.
Oh, yeah.
Wenger was renowned for bringing in players for that, for cheap money, and especially players that weren't performing where they were.
How much did Vieira go?
Bergkamp was another one. Vieira came very cheap. Vieira was like 4 million or something like that. And then before he went to Juventus, we sold him. He made a little bit of money on him, not much, I don't think.
Yeah.
Bergkamp was very cheap from Inter Milan at the time because he went from Ajax to Inter,
Yeah.
and then he wasn't performing at Inter Milan. He wasn't wanted there. You know, Wenger picked him up cheap, and he became, you know, a cult hero. Like
I think another Arsenal one comes to mind was Kolo Toure. He was under.
Kolo Toure was like 1.2 million. Or
Yeah,
something like that
he
as
did
well.
quite well. Yeah.
Yeah. What about his brother Yaya Toure when he went to Man City? Where did he come from? Came from France, didn't he?
Barcelona. He had 3 years.
Yes, you're right.
3 years
Yes,
in
yes,
Barca,
yes.
and then he left, and then Man City. He was a good buy for Man City. He was
He
a
was a
gun.
great. He
Yeah.
dominated that midfield. Those
Yeah.
title-winning seasons.
Yeah,
Absolutely dominated.
definitely,
He was a machine in the middle.
definitely.
Van Persie was another one for us.
Yeah.
That was good value, cheap. But then obviously fucking let him go cheap to fucking Man United and he goes wins the league the next year.
How much did he go for? 20?
To United. It was fucking it wasn't worth the money that like it would have been worth more staying with us for us. Rather than what they sold. I don't
Do you know
recall
what
they sold
I was told something last week that was very interesting. Talking about holding on to players, not letting go of players by clubs, not selling them. It also has to do with tax benefits or tax books.
Yeah.
Really, yeah.
So you've planned your tax year or your next 24, 36 months in regards to holding on to these assets or players, and you can't let go of them, otherwise it stuffs up the tax brackets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's something that we don't even think of as
Yeah,
fans.
yeah.
You know, just get rid of him, and your books will clear up. And then, but there's implications when it comes to tax time about not being able to let go of players who have these contracts, and they've calculated it in the company's financial numbers.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
there'll be a lot of
Yeah,
things
at
that
all.
there's things that fans don't see, and,
And-
they say,
and
why
every-
letting this player go? Why signing this player? Why don't we let him go? Why is he sitting here
And-
doing nothing?
And each country has their own tax rates as well, which is to consider.
And I think that's an important point that you bring up, especially for example, the most recent example. When you look at Ozil being at Arsenal for the last however many years now, not being played,
Yeah.
and people saying, "What the fuck's the story?" Even I said, "Well, why didn't they let him go? You know, if Emery didn't want him, and then Arteta doesn't want him, why have they kept him just sitting around for 2 years?
Yeah.
Either play him or get rid of him and free up that space."
That's
So
right.
it could be some implication in terms of tax or
That's how the conversation came
contract
about.
or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
You
We
know,
were talking
nobody
about
thinks
it,
about it like
yeah.
that. We think about it from a purely footballing perspective.
I think one name, talk about transfers, one player that come to mind that I was excited for, kind of a lot of people forgotten about him, Walter Samwell, when he went to Real Madrid. You know, for years Real, their defence was leaky, they didn't have a good defender when Hierro left the club, and then Walter Samwell signed for the club. I was bloody excited. He was known as Il Muro at Roma, the wall, but this didn't work out for him in Real, different type of league, and you know, Real, you know, the way they play, you know, defence,
Yeah.
it's hard to be a defender then. You remember his time there?
Absolutely, and I mean, like, that's a time in Real Madrid's little history there in that few years, and I think it goes to show for every club, you can't approach the transfer window with panic and with like a scattergun approach and throwing money to solve issues. You need a project, you need patience.
Barcelona showing there now with Dembele is not a Barcelona player.
No.
You know what?
Can I-
Dembele cost the Liverpool semi-final, so Champions League. Yes, Anfield. Yes, they buckled.
Yeah.
But the last player, Barcelona, it was 3-0 up, and Dembele was by himself with half an hour to spare. He could have had a cup of tea, eaten a goat, and then fucking shot.
Even a ghost.
This guy.
And he missed. That would have been 4-0. That would have been game over. That would have been.
Yeah.
And he like. The type of scenarios where you don't know Barcelona. He gets injured every 3 weeks.
He gets injured, and every time he comes back, there's a new coach. I swear to God, that's how it's been.
What a jab!
Wow.
Wow.
The thing with Dembele though is, like, when he did sign for Barcelona, it was a good transfer, right? Like, in terms of, he was
I was
19
surprised.
years.
Was it before the World Cup or after the World Cup? Because he did play.
It was 19 years old, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Too young, bro. Too
very
young.
talented.
But there's a lot of expectation on these players.
He's
Like,
been injured,
another one that
100%.
comes to mind is Haaland at Dortmund. Is he what he's hyped up to be? Are they overhyping him? Is it too early for him?
I think he's getting to the point of being overhyped. He's doing really well for himself, don't get me wrong.
But how old is he?
He's
How
early
old is he?
20
20s.
now? 20 now?
Early
21?
20s, yeah.
20, 21.
I don't know. I think in the next year or two, if he doesn't really step it up, like if he doesn't maintain that form, then you can call him a flop, because then they would have just. And I think that's not his fault. I think he's been overhyped, as he said.
He's getting like, for me, I think more of the, when it comes to the being overhyped, I think it's more of a danger of what's the next transfer going to be. Because right now, I think he's been successful for Dortmund,
Yeah.
and he's playing really well. But at the end of this season, does he go somewhere else?
His
Does
next
he go
transfer.
to Chelsea?
His next transfer
Does
is
he
going
go to Real Madrid?
His next transfer is going to be Bayern Munich. which is standard.
Yeah, that's
Dortmund's in Munich.
It's a
That's
blind
Everyone in
dude.
the Premier League wants him, Real Madrid want him. Like, the point is that wherever he goes next, especially outside of Bundesliga, I reckon, he might have some issues.
Alright, to chime in with my Chelsea picks, obviously Drogba's good value.
Yep.
I liked Michael Essien as well.
Yeah,
He's
Essien
very
is amazing.
versatile, centre mid,
Mr. Reliable.
play right back, consistent, solid.
Workhorse.
But in order for value and club legend is Lampard once again. 11 million from West Ham to
Yeah.
Chelsea.
What about Terry?
He's a Chelsea. He did his debut at Chelsea.
I think one player at Chelsea.
It wasn't a
I
part.
thought. Oh, he didn't come
One
from
great
there.
Chelsea signing when Mourinho first came, Ricardo Carvalho. I was a big fan of him.
Yeah.
He was a great defender. Him and Terry at the back.
What about Michael Reisiger?
Ah, yeah, the right back.
Or Mario Melchiot?
Well,
Yeah.
he played in England for a while.
Yeah, he played Chelsea right back for ages.
Yeah, but he went to another English team.
You know who I had really had a soft spot for? Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. I loved
He's the
Hasselbank.
commentator now. Up to sport.
Yeah, I love Hassel.
Yeah.
I loved Hasselbank at Chelsea.
This guy loved him when he was doing
Yeah.
I loved Hasselbank.
Hasselbeck and Zola up front.
Hasselbank at Leeds, I adored. And then when he went to Chelsea, whenever Chelsea played Arsenal, he always scored against Arsenal. For some reason, he was like Drogba before Drogba came. He was the player that scored against us all the time. Like when Hasselbank played against Arsenal, you knew he was going to score. But he was one of those that when he scored, you knew it was special. And I didn't actually mind when he did because I had a soft spot for him. But he used to score some bangers. He had a
Even,
bullet of a foot on him.
That one year had Atletico Madrid. He was like one of their top scorers in the league, and unfortunately they got relegated that season. In
Speaking
2000.
of flops, I just remembered another one.
But, he was still good.
Hasselbank. I remember another flop when you said Hasselbank, Arsenal. There's a couple. One, his career got done by injury, Eduardo, because he broke his ankle.
that
Before
tackle,
that, he was having a
that
great
tackle.
season. We were on course to win that league.
Against
We were on
Birmingham,
course
I
to
remember.
win the league, and then one game ruined everything against Birmingham, and then we went downhill from there. The other one was Julio Baptista from Real Madrid.
Brazilian.
The loan.
Yeah.
Oh, you gave us Jose Antonio Reyes, and he won
Yeah.
us the league that season. Oh, I don't forget that, man.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
Julio Baptista. He had a couple of games where he was on fire. I remember he scored.
4 goals against
I think he scored 4 or 5 goals against
Liverpool.
Was it Liverpool?
Against
Was it
the
FA
Carling Cup.
Or Carling Cup, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. Some shitty thing where
Yeah.
everyone played their third string team.
Carabao, whatever they call
Thought
it
it
now,
was
Carabao
amazing.
Cup.
Yeah, but then he was a massive flop.
Alright, before we go, one question. Adasi, I want to ask you.
Yep.
I don't want your life story.
Wow.
I don't-
Here we go.
I don't-
You ask
He's
the
already
question,
fucking
and then-
having a job.
You want a one-word answer?
I don't care about your history in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yes or no?
Aggressive.
In the next 12 months, Ramos to PSG. Yes or no?
No.
Wow. Was that like your mind or your heart saying no?
He won't go to PSG.
I asked the
That's
question.
very
He won't.
confident.
He won't go to PSG.
But I said, was that
If he's
your
gonna-
mind or your heart?
No, I think he won't go to PSG.
Do you think he'll leave Real Madrid?
Possibly.
Ooh,
Because you know
there's
why?
a twist.
Because there's what are we now in February?
Yeah.
His contract ends in June. I thought there's a bit of tug of war
look,
between
you
him and the
never know.
club.
Okay. Last
So,
one. Last comment.
Here we go.
If Ramos goes to PSG, would you wear a Barcelona jersey? I've got one in my room. Would you put it on for the
Ooh.
camera?
Ooh.
How confident
That's
are
a
you?
bet. That's because you're pretty confident,
Yeah.
bro.
Yep.
Hey!
He's not going to
We
go to
are
PSG.
on. We are
Oh,
on.
yeah.
I'm
So-
surprised
What if
you
he goes?
said that. Well,
Only if he
why
goes to
do you think
PSG,
he's gonna go
right?
PSG?
I think-
PSG.
Oh, only PSG.
Only
Not if he
PSG.
goes
Like,
there.
I think he might go to the Premier League. I reckon.
You reckon? I don't
Yeah.
think he'll
Can
go
I ask
to
you,
the Premier League.
what in your head gives you that reason?
I just feel there's a few Premier League clubs out there that
What
Would
Premier
want him.
League club would he go to?
Yeah, like
To be honest,
and PSG.
I can't see him
Probably-
at any club.
Everton?
A straight
Oh,
shot
man,
for
oh,
Gravison.
No, Ancelotti's there.
Man
I
City.
know, man.
Man City.
No, he's too
But
I
I don't
think-
understand why you wouldn't go to PSG
No,
if
look,
your options was Everton.
I think the only team that would afford him would be Man City, and he'd probably say, "Yeah, I'll play under Guardiola."
Or
or
Man
something.
United. Do you reckon?
Yeah, but he wouldn't go to under Solskjaer. Like, I reckon he'll be more of a leader than Solskjaer is.
Yeah.
it won't-
He'll
it'll
go to
cause
a part
an-
where
yeah.
he respects the
why-
manager.
so
It'll
why
cause
not
an
go-
imbalance in the.
Why not
in
go
the
to
team.
Ancelotti then?
What are you gonna do at Everton, bro?
No, it's just the stature of Everton
Yeah.
and the wages that they could afford.
To be honest,
Yeah.
I don't really care anymore. I want him to go to PSG.
All right.
To be honest, I don't see any other club that would get him except PSG.
But
I agree.
after tonight, do you want him to go to PSG?
no, I still don't want him to go to PSG.
I agree. What you're saying, he wouldn't You can't physically see him anywhere else other than PSG. In the
It
Premier
makes
League,
no sense
there's
to
no
go anywhere
manager.
else.
There's no manager of that stature
Yeah.
or club of that stature that at the same
And
time
the
to take
wages,
him.
like the guy's not going to go for
Yeah.
cheap.
Nah,
It's-
bro.
No, he won't go cheap.
So
'Cause that'll be
who's
his
going to
last
afford him in
move.
the Premier League?
Look at Man City, Man United.
Only-
They can't afford his wages.
United won't. He won't go and play under Solskjaer. Who's Solskjaer?
And
Yeah.
if he leaves,
Yeah.
I reckon he's going to PSG.
On that note, I'm ready to go to bed.
Is that it?
I'm happy. I'm just happy. Now one Ramos in a PSG
What
jersey.
bed? You gotta
Watch
gotta,
this space.
Hey, do you have to feed now? Your second feed
In
of the
about an
night?
hour.
Oh, okay. Did you feed, bro?
Alright guys, thanks again for tuning in today. We're sorry about the last 2 weeks, having the weeks off.
Sorry about it, Darcy holding the microphone like a penis.
I learned from you, buddy. I learned from you.
Whoa!
We'll get better, guys. We promise.
I learned from buddy.
On that note, till next time. Bye bye.